Well, hey everyone, time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, Radio Public, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Big thanks to Travel Bugs for the music and our featured patrons, Scout Mom 5, and Spire Crew, Scrabble Hounds, Jinxer05, Float Your Goat, Just Be. Got to spend a little time last night with Just Be. Had a great time talking and found one of his caches today. So thanks, Just Be. Just Be. Okay, we had a good time with that one last night. When I originally met him, and he's like, I don't really like my GC name's okay. I'm like, no, it's a great one. Just Be. Baker Six Clan, Geocaching Jeeper, Little Black Dog, as opposed to Lady Black Cat.
Oh, okay.
Because I confused the two one day, and I told her I got to meet Leslie and Adam this weekend at the Texas Mega, and I was like, she's like, it's Lady Black Cat, and so I had to explain to her, I took two GC names and I mushed them together, and that's how I ended up with that. So now it makes more sense now. But Little Black Dog, Irish Allen, and our new patrons, R&M Cashers, Cal Running, DE Crypto Man, and I missed seeing him. He was there, and we just were missing each other. I'm sorry, buddy. Hope to see you for Geo Woodstock, but man, we just kept missing each other. Julie D, I didn't get to see her either. I don't know if she was there or not but she might have been there at Texas Mega, but I missed seeing her. Lost Boy Rambler, didn't miss seeing Houston, Texas Dave. He was there. Hulu Yossi, Adair MD, Semmels 123. Didn't miss seeing Ryan, but how can you miss Ryan? I mean, no, I'm kidding. No, Semmels 123. He was one of the best patrons. He's one of the best patrons in the world. You know why, Jesse?
Why is that?
Bought me a beer.
Oh my gosh! There you go.
No,
that makes him king right there.
Right. Makes him king. I was going to buy him one, and I got so flustered with doing so many other things that I came back and he bought me one. So I was like, "Oh,
he snuck one in on you.
You're awesome." Yeah. So, anyway, so that's kind of funny. Chaos in Motion. Got to meet her, and so that was fun. Got photos and got to talk a little bit with Stacy, so that was kind of fun. The Bruce Zero, he's back, and we tend to sometimes we'll lose a patron for whatever reason, we understand, but if you come back, obviously we'll mention you again. So
good, yeah.
Absolutely, and you're gonna love this one. This is a crazy one. This is their GC name. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Are y'all sitting down for this one? Okay. It is 00 Ridland Kids 00.
Very nice.
Apparently there were a bunch of other ones. Yeah.
Well, it's like a band name. They don't spell it out all the way.
Oh, it's like, okay, I got you.
It's 00 RXK, but what it stands for is a band called Ridland Kids, and so they created this.
Oh, that's cool.
It's different, yeah. When I first,
and that's thinking of I love those names like that. That you're like, what is that? And then once you figure it out, You're like, oh, that's very cool.
So that's cool.
I found out there's not a lot of restrictions on names,
right?
Because I've seen some out in the field that I can't even mention on the show because we have a clean show. Now I don't know if there's somebody that's watching that just doesn't know a lot of slang stuff.
Right.
There's some things that are wildly inappropriate that I won't repeat.
That got slipped through the cracks of the
stuff that's yeah.
Nobody reviewing the names.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't kick on
right.
It wouldn't kick on like an automatic throwback or whatever.
Right.
But it does stand for
right. something that people would know.
Non-traditional acts.
Right.
Some stuff that's not great.
Right.
Unfortunately, I know them from my time in law enforcement and stuff, but
there's
drug-related names that slip through, and I'm just like, man, don't y'all check this or anybody?
Yeah, somebody reviewing these things.
Yeah.
And then also Wanna Rock 86.
Always classic.
Always classic. If you'd like to become a patron and let us read these crazy names and add yours to the crazy name list, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the new blackout coin. Dun, 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 dun. And we got some extras made, so we're fired up about that. So we're good. We're good to go now on blackout coins.
Keep taking pictures with them out in the wild. We love it.
Yes. Take a picture wherever you're at with it. Houston, Texas Dave been doing a bunch. It's been great. And a lot of people, different people doing them. Lost Boy Rambler, different folks have done that. So it's cool. Other geocaching, other swag, other geocache items during the year, and I'm gonna show one of those here in a minute that we're going to be giving out to all the patrons. And bonus content, invites to special events. We're doing a patron dinner at Geo Woodstock. And support levels start at Bison Tube level, which is $3 a month. So let me welcome my co-host, Jesse.
Good evening. I'm sitting over here jealous because, I was just cashing around town this weekend, and you got to do a little more than that.
I did. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I do want to mention about the Texas Mega because
you're not just going to rub it in my face like you did the Giga, I guess. Okay.
No, I won't do it too badly.
Okay.
Let's jump right into show 139 for March 10th. As we welcome back to the show, John Bishop of AMS Travel Sales. Welcome back to Geocache Talk.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Great to be on a good, solid connection with a decent computer this time. And I'm thrilled to be back and talking about what we've got to offer coming up here.
Yes, we've got some awesome stuff coming up. I mean, we're like I said, that's why I don't want to spend a lot. I want to get to that really. It's sort of as quick as we can because it's fascinating. I got a lot of questions for poor John.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, great. Okay, you got a bunch of questions. So he's like, oh, I'll try to answer them. I'll do my best. No, it's gonna be interesting. And it's gonna be great. So, John, again, thanks for coming back. Yeah, we were gonna do a show a while back, and we just had trouble, and so it just was better to wait. And so it's worked. I think it's worked out great. So, all right, let's get into the show. Let's get into the news. So, we're going to talk about you're going to cover CETO tips, right, Jesse, here in a minute?
Yeah, just the article that was on geocaching.com. We'll fly through that real quick. They've been putting out some pretty good things lately, so.
Go ahead. Yeah, okay.
Give them props. Yeah, we can do that right now.
You want to do it first? Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so I don't know if everybody's read it yet or not, but they put out CETO tips, and of course, they've expanded the CETO season for the souvenirs to 6 months out of the year or something, which it'd be easy to make fun of, but I'm a big fan of that.
No, it is. You're right.
I'd be okay with them making it all year long. If you go to a CETO or you put out a CETO or whatever, every time you do it, there's a little souvenir, it levels you up in souvenirs because that's one of the really best things that we do to give back to the community.
Right.
So anyway, they put out this article on the blog at 10 off the beaten path ways to CETO, which I think is important because everybody thinks of CETO, and I've hosted a few different types, and I've even had some rejected as it was not close enough to CETO to be real. But but then again, you're not pushing it, right, if you're not doing that. But it's not only just going to your local park and picking up trash. There's actually a lot of different stuff you can do. So I'm glad when they remind people of it. So they said, number one was tidy up a gravestone at a historical graveyard to make them shine. Yes. With permission, that could be a really good thing. And I know, like in Texas, y'all have tons of them and caches around them, so that's a good way to give back. Or like an older cemetery where it's more of a historical cemetery, not a current new. Don't go shine in somebody's gravestone.
Well, that's a great idea. We were talking. We went to several cemeteries again because of Texas, but we found Susan's great grandfather's grave. There was a cache nearby, and it filled a county, which we'll talk about that one later on. But his gravestone is starting to get a lot of lichen growing on it. So that's a good example, like you're saying, Jesse, is that it'll come a point where you really can't read it very well. And so, a little scrubbing off of some of those, and you could kind of make it look a lot better, or at least
absolutely
make it legible. So
and that actually gives something back, right? Those historical ones, there's nobody left around to really maintain that area.
Right. Little leveling too. You can see people out there who, there's some that are just, they're sideways almost. And really without, guys could come out with shovels and you could do some minor
with permission
of
the owner and caretaker. This is not one you just do on your own.
No, but
that would be bad, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be bad. But
geocaching grave robbers, that's what we need.
I'm sure a cemetery or a person who's in charge of that cemetery would love if somebody came out and spent a little bit of time. We're not talking about major work here, but just a little bit of fixing up.
But you think bomb threats are the worst news we get? Wait till we have geocaching grave robber.
Grave
robber is over. Okay. So number 2 was combine cash in, trash out with your local adopt a highway program. That's pretty common, and we've done that here in Colorado a few times. I've been a part of a few of those. It takes some commitment, and they usually want you to do it at least 4 times a year. Okay. So it's good. You get 4 CETOs out of it right there.
Right.
Then here was one that's pretty funny. They were getting, a little bit different on it. Simultaneously cosplay and spring clean a medieval castle by removing invasive greenery from the area.
I love it.
So
that's awesome.
Combining that with cosplay, there's a crossover there. A lot of people, so it doesn't just have to be a boring CETO. You can do something funny with it too. So
sure.
And you can also take out, invasive species. That's one of the things you can do. Count the number of hikers who ascend the cables at Half Dome in Yosemite National Park. What they're talking about is you can do one that's like a high terrain, right? There's other things you can do on trails. One note on that, like if you're doing one on a trail that's going up a mountain, you have to have somebody at your GZ point for people that show up throughout the event late.
Right.
So if you're going to do one of those and it's like a moving type CETO or you're covering a large area, you have to have somebody at that GZ. I learned that one when I got a CETO rejected. But
well, it's good to know though. That you don't have.
We learn from it, right?
And you don't have to do the traditional. Everybody go to this spot, be done.
Right.
So
absolutely.
This is kind of cool.
We did one on an island one time too. That was pretty fun. But we've bird natural fiber feeders to encourage native wildlife in the area.
Love that.
Now this is one I hadn't even thought of. So it's something that's helping the wildlife. So I'm sure you would get with your local,
right?
Wildlife enforcement or one of those to look at see what something's needed in the area. Engineer a zip line to haul down garbage from a hilly forest and bump up the terrain, rating to T5. There you go. I like that, right? So you're doing something on a higher terrain and
a T5 CETO. I didn't know you could even get away with a T5 CETO anymore.
Of course you can, but what can the difficulty be? Only a 1. Difficulty can only be a 1. All events are locked in at a 1 difficulty. The terrain can be up and down.
That's true.
Before the rules, I was at a 5 difficulty event. So
yeah.
Well, got you before the rules.
And you and I figured out how to do we figured out a legitimate D5 T5 event. It wasn't a CETO, but
and I talked to people at Geocache and they said no. So
no, I know, but it made perfect sense.
It did. It did to me too. Okay.
You had a puzzle to get to the. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not gonna get that.
All right. Another idea for a T5 CETO: hold an event deep inside a cave. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Again, get permission.
Wow.
Okay. Number 8: set up an aquatic CETO with kayaks to clean those hard to reach locations. So I've been on one of those before. It actually took a motorboat to get out to where we were going, but it was fun. It was we cleaned up an island. Number 9: revitalize a rural road by removing grass and greenery that's taken over. That's pretty extensive stuff there.
Yeah.
And number 10:
Pictures. Cool.
Don't forget the tradition of including weenie roast or hot cocoa parties for many CETO participants around the world. And while that's kind of funny, the point they're bringing up is give them some treats and food afterward, right? They just cleaned up something. That's a lot harder than a coffee event or something like that. So reward people a little bit for it. So
right,
that's a pretty good one. I'll add number 11 in real quick.
Yes,
if you're looking for CETOs, and I've hosted a few myself, like 9. But if you're looking for one to partner with in your area, go talk to your local school district. They always need people to help during the summertime, not during the school year,
right?
To help like clean up extra trash and small things that their people can't get to in time. So it saves them for working on bigger projects.
Yep.
And they usually have to sign a little release, but there are tons of schools around and they always need help. And you can clean up stuff. And we did that here last summer and it was great. I thought, we're going to have tons of CETO. We couldn't even get close to scratching the surface of all the schools that wanted us to come out to it.
That was awesome.
We only got because we did one a week and we got like a dozen or 13 or 14 in or something like that.
Right.
There was 32 schools just in this area. We could have done them
right
all day long,
One week for the whole summer.
Yeah, partner with your local school district. They'll take the help. They'll, and they'll be happy for it. And you'll have CETOs for days.
Right. That is cool. That's an awesome idea.
I thought that was a pretty good article they put out. I think they've been stepping up their social media and their stuff lately and really good, useful tips. So
yes.
Just want to give them props for that.
It's also really timely because there's been so much emphasis on plastic waste in the oceans and things like that that is really in the media a lot lately. You flip through Reddit today and almost every other post is somebody standing with a garbage bag of stuff they've cleaned off a beach somewhere. And every time I have to look, am I in the geocaching subreddit? Is that a CETO? No, it's not. It's somebody in Bahrain or something that's totally not related.
Oh yeah.
But people are really taking ownership of the environment and the land, and it'd be great to grab some of that momentum and bring geocaching along with it. So
absolutely.
And I think CETOs are one of those things that people are scared to do if they've never hosted before, but they're really easy and people are happy to have you doing that.
Right. Some of my most successful events have been CETOs.
Oh, cool. Yeah, just a little planning because you got to know what do you want to do with all the trash or how. Do you when you do yours, Jesse? Do you have somebody you're gonna, or I guess you have to know where you want to end up, where the trash needs to go, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. So like when we did them, I've really only done them in 2 types of areas besides just the regular city park, on trails. And when I reached out to the park rangers in that area, they were like, yes, absolutely. Please come out here and do it. Go on these trails. We have these big cans. We'll open them up for you to put all your trash in when you come back down. They were very happy because if they don't have to do that and they can count on you doing that, they can go hit another thing because they're constantly trying to, keep everything clean and everything in these in these state parks like that. But the schools, not only did they give us a waiver, they gave us bags. They offered to give us gloves.
Wow.
And there was a can at every place that they could put it in right at the end of the thing. So it was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. Well, thank you guys both for bringing up the CETOs. I was surprised too. They said that there have been more than 363,000 people who have volunteered at over 18,000 CETO events since 2002. I thought that was awesome. So
yeah, it's one of those chances we actually have to do something good.
Way to go, geocachers. Yes. Good article. Very good. Yeah.
I thought that was a good one.
It'll be in the show notes in case you want to find it, or it's on geocaching.com. But all right. So a real quick recap of Texas Challenge. North won. That's enough. We need to talk about that. No more. I'm sure some of them might be in the chat room.
I suspect some of them are.
And that's all we need to say about that. No, I'm kidding. North has recaptured their crown after losing it for 1 year. So that's 6 out of 7 years for North. So they're pretty proud of themselves, as you're well aware. Jesse's well aware of North.
Oh yeah.
Dominance. No, it was a great event. I don't know how many individual winners. Last year, Charles and Laura Watkins won the individual men's and women's for their. I don't know if they had age groups. I can't remember how they did that, but they didn't do it this year. Charles is nursing bad feet from he got a lot of blisters from skiing. You think an Army Pathfinder would not run into a problem like that, but
Extreme skiing.
extreme skiing. Well, he's getting old and he's losing his mind, I think. So anyway,
Is he even in the chat room to defend himself tonight?
Probably not. No, he's probably traveling.
That's why you're picking on him.
He made it all the way back to Fort Worth. I don't know if they're going all the way to Wyoming tonight, or they're probably not going all the way because it's a long haul. But they did a bunch of periscopes. I tried to do a bunch of periscopes. I had trouble with Instagram, but we won't talk about that tonight. I got to work on that. I know, but
we'll work on that some more.
We'll work on that some more to do more Instagrams.
Because I didn't get to see any of your periscopes.
I know periscopes were.
I don't have Twitter annoyed anymore. So
yeah, no more Twitter. Which is kind of weird how they're connected. Which they anyway.
It is weird.
But it was a great event. Dee and David and all the Tom Electric Water Boy and all of them were and the whole crew, their whole crew and all the volunteers who put it together. Did a fabulous job. The lab caches were great.
Did you get all of them?
I didn't get all of them, but
oh no,
I liked the. Well, yeah. There's various reasons why we didn't. We had a lot of other things going on that we kind of combined with this trip. So time with my brother and doing a lot of other things. So we kind of combined some stuff together. But the app works great. We won't talk about a lot tonight. We'll talk more about Adventure Lab, but download the app because you got to have it if you want to do lab caches going forward. You can't brute force them like some people do. You've got to be. You don't even know what the questions are until you're close enough to one for it to give you the question. Therefore, you can't even pull up an answer. You can't even pull up where you could put an answer in. So that's like I like that.
That is good for the honest cacher.
Yeah,
there are still some people out there that'll cheat. They'll spoof their GPS, and all that other stuff. But if you're going that far to cheat, that's just really, really sad. I mean, that is
got other issues.
Sad.
Yes, you got other issues to deal with, and you need to go deal with those. So
absolutely, you have some personal issues probably to work out.
Yeah.
Tom said, talk about the toilet seat labs.
Yes, I'll talk about that. Thank you, Tom. They got permission to take part of Barney Smith's Toilet Seat Museum, which is moving from San Antonio up to near Dallas. And so they got to have part of Barney Smith's Toilet Seat Museum at the Mega. And so we got to see those. We got to sign a toilet seat. That was really cool. And the question was related to the exhibit. And you got to see a video. I mean, it was above and beyond. And so I'm really excited about lab caches going forward, that there's going to be a lot more to it, or potentially a lot more to it. So
we need a ruling. Isn't that the Toilet Seat Museum? Isn't that in a book of the top favorite caches?
It is.
So we need official ruling now.
Okay.
If it moves, does it still count? If you go get it after it moves? Because some people are trying to get that top 20 list, right?
They are.
Are they moving it? Are they republishing it? Or
that I don't know. We need to
my gosh. Well, I mean, you get the final call on that, right? Because I believe you had something to do with that book.
I did, but as far as the virtual, because there's it's the number one virtual ever, in the U.S. As far as the points, but I'm hoping that they move the virtual with it. I'm really hoping they keep.
I hope so. When are they moving it?
It's packed up. So
no.
Yeah, it's gone. It's packed up. Well, Barney's retired. Barney's needing to move. To up there. Health. He's 90 something. So he needed to close that down, and so it's getting moved. So it'll be back, but that's the thing. I'm hoping they move the virtual with it. Otherwise, somebody's going to put a throwdown, pill bottle nearby, and
That's just the same. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same experience, right?
At least we need a new virtual put there or something better than just or lab cache. Put a permanent lab cache.
Yeah,
which that's possibility they're coming out with. But anyway, so final note was they did as far as my again, it was so much fun seeing everybody. Got to hang out with some really cool people, and it's just fun seeing everybody again. All the old friends, made new friends. Marcellus was there. I got to hang out with Mr. Marcellus Cad, and so and Just Be, one of our patrons. I got to meet several patrons. I got you a gift that I can't even show you. It's right over here. I can't even quite put it in the. I can't. Up there. That was it. Hope you saw it, Jesse. But I got a gift from you from one of our listeners gave me a gift, and oh my gosh, it is unbelievable. I'm so thankful, for Alan and Steph for giving me. They gave us a couple, one for me, one for you. So I'm going to mail you yours.
Oh, very cool.
And I've never gotten something like this. I mean, it's just amazing. It's like. I'm speechless. So I was really thankful. And then finally they did for the finishers, which is always a cool event. We've been to that, Jesse. This year they did a finishers. This is Charles's work too as well. Finishers / block party. So they had food trucks and they kind of combined the thing that we were at last year. They had the food truck thing, but it was separate from the finishers thing. So they combined the two events together, and they had a band, and it was right outside of a brewery. And so they combined everything perfectly. It really was a great night.
That's very cool. You're getting closer. You'll be up there on that stage one day.
Nah,
you're knocking off those counties quickly.
Yeah, I think we're at 57.
That's pretty good. You've jumped up a lot in the last 6 months.
We did 10. I think we did 10 counties on the trip down and back. So, I'm getting rattled. I'm getting ribbed a little bit though, Jesse. I got to finish it because while I was at the finishers event, I had hecklers. Hecklers are going. Jesse's going to do it before you do. He's going to finish Texas before you do. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Oh, he might if he really went after it.
You're way, way ahead of me now, though. way, way ahead of me. I think I've only done like a dozen or less.
Charles thinks, and I hate saying this because you're going to get so fired up, but Charles thinks 10 days you could do 254 caches in 10 days. That's all it would take.
We're going to need to see that planned out on Cache Tour.
Cache Tour. He says 10 days. He goes, but you got to do it like Jesse does it. You don't.
You got to sleep in your car. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, he said you would have to drive, fill the car up, eat and sleep, and keep going, and never stops. And if you have somebody with you, that car is like constantly moving for 10 straight days. But you could do it. He says you could do all 254. So we'll have to figure that out.
I want to see that. You know what? We need to use Cache Tour, plan that out. The only caveat is I'm not going to sleep while somebody else is caching.
No.
Right, I'm not doing that. No. So you could do it that way, but I want to be awake for every single cache.
But there's stretches
every single county.
Yeah. There's stretches of Texas where you're waiting to get to the next county. And so you could sleep for a couple hours probably.
Okay, we need to see that.
West Texas part of it.
Yeah, we need to see that planned out.
Yep. All right, last.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, John.
No.
I'm sorry,
John.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay, John wants to come down and do it too. So
yeah, right. Yeah, really. He's like, we're in.
Do you want to hit this one last? We can skip that last item. We can do that for next week. And then you want to hit that second item there?
Yeah, I want to talk about the zipper pulls, which is our new item. I gave out some to some of the patrons this weekend. And so this I really love. All the patrons are going to get one. So this is part of that swag I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It is a zipper pull. Let me get to where you can see this thing. Or you can make it whatever you want. The
idea is a zipper pull or to go on your, geocaching bag.
Yeah.
But something you can wear around and,
Cool.
And obviously,
So-
it's for the audio listeners. It's in the shape of a microphone, like the logo.
Yep.
But the idea is instead of just a coin or a pat tag, have something a little different. That you can like like John. You've got your bag you showed us before we started before we started the show. A lot of us have that geocaching bag that we carry around, and it's kind of hard to hang a coin off of there. So we wanted to make something easy to be able to carry around.
There you go. Yep, John's showing his bag. There's your bag, John. Perfect. We'll have to get one on there. But the trick is, and I want to show this one, but this one was a sort of an extra. But on the back, if you have the actual,
I don't know that you're gonna be able to see it on here.
Maybe not. But on
you're showing one without the code.
Yeah, I want to show one. On the back of them, they're trackable, so you can walk.
Oh, you know what? Stacy's asking for the activation code. Did you give it to her this weekend?
It's Geotalk.
Okay.
So just let her know Geotalk. You can also
Geotalking.
Yeah, Geotalk, one word. Sorry. Yep. This is a version we're giving out to the ammo can patrons. It's a little different version, but so if you're the $10 level, we're gonna get you one of these
raised version. It's pretty neat looking.
And antique version.
The idea is something just different, right?
We don't
want to just become a coin producing show. The coins are awesome, but I don't know how we're gonna top that black coin anyway.
No.
But we wanted to give something and just as thanks. Pages have been doing good. They're going to help us. We're working with Jesse. We're going to update the website so we can have more stuff on there and really connect and keep that blog going from from listeners and everything else and people contributing stories. And to do all that, you got to dump a little bit of money into update the website every once in a while.
Yeah.
Or it'll be MySpace in no time.
Yeah. But and we did. We updated the security recently on that.
I just really wanted to say thank you and give you a little something different to
Yeah,
be a part of the show.
It's just kind of, and if you want to make it more of a charm but it's trackable. So you can kind of if the other example was a coat, you could put on your coat.
Yeah.
So the idea was that you're walking around, you could go, oh, here, you can, instead of having a coin in your pocket or your purse or whatever, you're like, here you are, you can track, this is trackable and you can, so people are,
it should be made to be easily attachable to something. So I'll be curious to see how people use them.
Yep. All right. That's it. Let's get into the show. we're already ways in. So, John, thanks again for coming on.
You're welcome.
And for being one of our wonderful sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that, but let's talk briefly about last year. We were able to kind of help. We kind of kicked off our sponsorship or our partnership together, and you had a Cache the Waves Alaska cruise last summer is what we were, and we actually had a listener got to go on that cruise. That's very cool. So kind of give us some thoughts or some idea or some, how did it go? What are your thoughts on the one that y'all did last year in Alaska?
Well, I think last year's cruise, it was a little bit of a learning experience for everybody. This was our first geocaching cruise that we had put together, but it turned out to be an excellent adventure for everybody. The feedback we got from everybody that went was very positive. We ended up, what we did is we took a cruise from Seattle to Juneau to Skagway and cruised around some glaciers, and then we went to Victoria, which is in British Columbia, and then back to Seattle. And we tied this cruise in with a visit to Geocaching HQ, and we did the HQ Geo Tour there. Right. And everybody had a great time. Some folks had already been to the HQ, but they were welcome to do it again, and they did. It was a lot of fun, and I just can't wait to go back to Alaska. Eventually, that's going to happen, I believe, with a Cache the Waves cruise. Right. So what we did on board was something different, I believe, than any other geocaching cruise. Right. Not only did we do guided geocaching in the ports like the other geocaching cruises do. We had special events and themed props and things on the ship itself. I wanted to show you one.
That is really cool. Yes.
This is, and I know this is a podcast, but this is one of
We'll
our
talk about it. That's okay. We have a lot of people who watch as
this
well.
this is a map case that my wife designed, and
cool.
it hides some. It had some stuff inside, and it hides some tools that the geocachers used to solve some puzzles.
Oh wow!
And what this is?
That is awesome.
This is a Pringle can Enigma machine.
Yes,
like a model of the Enigma machine that they used in World War II to to encrypt the messages.
Absolutely.
We set up a series of puzzles that people would have to decrypt based on things that we had seen in the geocaching puzzle book that's so popular.
Right.
And we set up mock geocaching pages, and each one they had to use one of these or a different style of decoder.
Oh yeah.
I love those.
We had a number of different puzzles and things that they could use to learn how to solve puzzle geocaches. And everybody really enjoyed this. They worked together as teams, and they competed one against the other. And in the end, we gave everybody coins. And we had some other special events, scavenger hunts, and other fun things just to make it a little bit different. And we're not going to do this same thing in the cruise coming up. We're going to do something a little bit different. But every year we want to do something unique and clever like this to kind of bring the fun of geocaching on the ship, where we can't actually hide a geocache on the ship because the ship moves. We don't have a static spot for a cache that you find with a GPS. That we supplement the experience with adventures like this. So
yeah, that's something that I think people need to be aware of. I mean, you can take a cruise with anybody. I mean, there's plenty of cruise. There's plenty of travel companies that will help you with that. But if you're in they may or may not be familiar with geocaching, and they may be like, and you can sort of, I mean, you could plan one, but to connect with a travel company that is geocaching. I mean, John's company, they are geocachers, and they even created something like this for on the cruise. There's also fun that you can have doing geocaching related. They had events and games and puzzles. I mean, it's
on purpose. You're doing it on purpose, not sneaking around to get away from the family or, other things that can happen. And we've talked about it before, but I've almost made some big mistakes by trying to do that same thing on trips before. So this is the way it needs to be done.
Right. And the idea is that it includes everybody. We have puzzles and things that are good for the kids to do and all different levels. So there's something for everybody. You're not having to escape, the Muggle family, if you would, to go do some caching related things. We include everybody in this, and everybody's welcome to participate.
So how does that work? Like, say obviously when you hit a port, you go caching. I mean, that seems like it would be pretty self-explanatory. The benefits are great. I mean, you're helping plan that. You make sure you're going to get the caches that you want when you're there, and you have a list. While you're at sea, are you able to meet up? Is that when you do kind of these puzzle things, or? That's
right. We'd have special event spots set aside for us, or we'd find a quiet corner and everybody get together. There's on these ships, Royal Caribbean ships in particular, there's a lounge up at the very top of the ship. It's called the Viking Crown Lounge, and it's usually during the day a very quiet place, but it's got windows all the way around, panoramic views of everything. So you see, in this case, we were watching the glaciers go by and the waterfalls and the mountains while we were solving these puzzles and doing this. So it was a lot of fun, but it was a quiet area. Occasionally we had folks who'd want to come in and join the fun that weren't part of the group, and we let them in certain situations, and that kind of added to it. But we try to make it kind of a private event for just the folks in the group.
That's very cool. And I'm one of those nerds that, like, when you go to a mega, I love the little workshop, the little breakout things like that. So that's huge, and get to do that, because I love cruises. I've been on a couple of cruises, but to get to cross it over with geocaching too. That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah.
I just want to mention in the chat room, Valena Mahar, Butterfly Girls, mentioning that her and her 86-year-old, I like the way she put it, 86-year-old little mommy is going with her on your Bahama cruise. So in
Oh,
June.
very cool.
That's right. She's booked. So shout
Yeah,
out.
it's her muggle mommy. So yeah, and Valena, if this is something I think is interesting, is that she's been on a cruise before, so she knows, in a sense, she knows what to look for, and she
Right.
picked to go on one of yours. So I'm, hats off to you, and thanks, Butterfly Girl, for mentioning that. But she is still looking for a cruising buddy, by the way, to go with them all. So, but yeah, let's take a moment and talk, if we can, about, or is there anything else you want to mention about Alaska? I wanted to talk about some other things, or
we can, that we've kind of hit the Alaska,
okay.
and there's a lot more to come. So
Alaska 2020 is looking to be happening, right? You think? Okay. So Alaska 2020.
You think it's going to be around May?
There is an Alaska cruise that we have planned. There's a group of geocachers that are going. Okay. It's not a Cache the Waves cruise. It's another group of cachers. So I'm not going to be going, I don't think, and hosting these sort of events. That's specific to a Cache the Waves branded cruise.
Okay. But there's a potential of doing one
in Alaska. Yes, it was such a success. There will be a potential of going back.
Okay, for another cache.
We'll have to get the update once you get closer to that. We'll have to get the update on that, because that one is on my list for sure. Alaska is.
Yeah, definitely and we'll talk more about how to keep up with John and AMS Travel Sales, and with us and everything. So we want to talk briefly about this one, because it's full, but so we don't want to spend a lot of time on this one. But Jesse was fascinated by this whole possibility of going to Cuba.
That's right.
So talk a little bit about the Cuba trip and potential maybe of doing it again. Maybe.
Sure. I was approached by a group of geocachers who cruise every year, and they asked me to help them put together a cruise to Cuba so they could go geocaching. And I told them I'd be happy to do that. So I've put that together. They're leaving this April, and they're going to go to Nassau, and they're going to go to Havana. And in both ports, we've got geocaching excursions set up for them, so that they can go get the caches. The vast majority of the caches in each port of call.
Wow.
And it's such an interesting, Cuba is such an interesting destination, because it's a hot button of emotions for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And some people are like, oh no, I'm never going to Cuba. And other people are like, oh, sign me up, I'm ready to go see someplace new in the Caribbean that they haven't seen.
That's true. That's true. If you're tired, I mean, if you're a seasoned Caribbean cacher or cruiser, then this is like, oh wow, you can go to Cuba now.
Right. You mentioned before we went on the air that they're not making islands anymore. Well, they're not, but this is one that we haven't been able to get to in generations. So it might as well be a whole new island for us. So everybody's very excited about it. It's a little bit different of a location, because there's some more bureaucracy and regulations that you have to meet to do things in Cuba. For Americans, it's a little bit more involved than just going to Jamaica or the Virgin Islands or something like that.
Right.
And so there's paperwork and things you have to fill out. But once you get there, it's a fantastic experience.
Wow.
Is it true that you still can't bring your GPS to Cuba?
I haven't found where they have ever turned a blind eye to that. There have been other geocaching groups to Cuba that have used their GPS successfully. I've told the folks going on this cruise, use your phone and prepare for not having any kind of data while you're there. So you want to have everything downloaded, all your maps, all your GPX files. Prepare to do things offline, because it's unlikely that you're going to have any kind of internet while you're there. And if you want to take your GPS, your handheld, you do so at your own risk.
Okay.
That's what I tell all cachers: leave the GPS at home and use your phone.
Right.
Not even going to Cuba, just in general.
Just in general.
Right, just in general. If you leave your house to geocache, take your phone. Leave the GPS behind. This is the 21st century. Just want to let you know. We're in the 2000s now. So
But somebody's asking,
just kidding.
if there's going to be a booth at Geo Woodstock. Are you going to have any representation at Geo Woodstock?
Oh, us? I was hoping to, but at this point, it doesn't.
We're gonna represent AMS Travel Sales.
Well, I mean,
Okay,
obviously
okay.
we can help you out with that. But they were just
Okay.
asking if you in particular were going to have anybody down there.
I am not. It's I haven't been able to figure out how to get over there. The challenge of running a one-man travel show is that you've got to be available for folks who are traveling and have needs and emergencies while they're going.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to get away from the office to do that sort of thing. So
sounds good. And people can always get information through your site and link it. They can link there from our site. We've got information about your site too. So
yeah, AMS Travel Sales. You can go to geocachetalk.com. It's right there on the front. Right there on this. We just have a handful of sponsors, so he's right there. So actually, the bottom one is AMS Travel Sales. So click on that and take you right there. And we'll talk a little bit too in a little while about some of the things you provide for Geocache Talk listeners. We'll get that in a little while, but let's kind of talk about the main. Although the Cuba trip is fascinating for, like you said, for many reasons, but let's get into the next Cache the Waves trip planned, the one that Valena Mahar, Butterfly Girls going on. It's June 24th.
24th.
Okay.
Before we do that, how many? Because we didn't touch on it. We talked about it before the show. How many people are on that Cuba trip, cachers?
32, I believe. We have
32 geocachers. That's an awesome group to be going to Cuba. That's like that trip, the Germany trip where Josh went on, and he had 30 people on a bus going around. There's 32 cachers in a brand new country that you're going with. That's huge. That's that many people. That would be a fun trip. Just the experiences you would get from that. They're gonna have a blast on that one. But okay, now we can move on. But I just thought that was important. That's huge. That's like that Germany trip. That's a huge group going over there caching and stuff.
Now, there are a few spots left for Bahamas.
That's right.
Okay. Going on the Mariner of the Seas, which is a Royal Caribbean ship.
That's right.
So what's your tell us a little bit about this trip to the Bahamas and what are some highlights that you want to point out tonight?
Okay. We chose to do a Bahamas cruise this year to make Cache the Waves a little bit more accessible to everybody. The Alaska trip was wonderful, but it's a pretty sizable investment for a lot of folks to fly to Seattle and then cruise. It wasn't an inexpensive trip. So we wanted to dial the cost factor back a little bit, and the length of the cruise is shorter as well to allow more folks to enjoy and experience what we offer. So the Mariner of the Seas is a fantastic ship. When I started in the travel industry back in 2000, this was one of the ships that came on shortly after that and was one of the most popular ships that I have ever sold. I had families and families and families and families on this ship, and they loved every minute of it. A few years ago, they moved the ship over to Asia, and we lost it for a while, and they replaced it with something that was a harder thing to sell, and it wasn't quite as good. They finally brought it back, and I'm very excited about it. But they've retrofitted it with millions of dollars worth of new technology and entertainment options. It's got a surfing simulator. It's got a rock wall, which it's always had, but they've added, what's exciting to me is an escape room that we're going to make part of the Cache the Waves experience.
Wow.
Everybody,
cool.
This is a paid feature on the ship, and everybody in the Cache the Waves group is going to have the opportunity to enjoy that as part of their package.
Right.
So we've built that into it, and we've got, let's see what else. there's some kind of feature that I haven't seen in action yet. I don't really know how to. It's a virtual reality trampoline, like you're tethered to a giant ball and you're bouncing up and down on this trampoline, and you've got the VR goggles on. And I don't know what you're looking at yet. I haven't experienced it.
Oh
Sounds
gosh.
cool.
But it sounds like it might make people ill, but the kids might like it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't know. So we'll see what that's all about. And then, so the ship is great. The ship is almost brand new.
Well, you know,
But
this week though, John, one thing I did on both Facebook and on Twitter was I went and grabbed a bunch of photos, and they look to be updated because, like you're talking about, I've seen the wave thing is in the photo, so I made sure I specifically grabbed the Mariner of the Seas picture. So if everyone wants to go back and look, like I just didn't grab some generic cruise ship. I wanted to grab the one that people would be on, and so I got some of the latest pictures. I don't know if they still have the putt course.
I think so.
Still have that. But it's amazing. And so I was looking at all the photos, but like you said, it's got it has been, like you said, it's been completely sort of upgraded with a lot of the cool new stuff. So that's awesome.
Right. And so we're going to Nassau, the capital city of the Bahamas, and then we're going to go to Coco Key, which is their private island, the cruise line's private island. And not only are they renovating the ship, but they're renovating this island. The whole thing is being rebuilt as we speak. They're going to be done by the time that we are going and crossing the fingers. But they're adding water slides and wave pools and over the water cabanas and all kinds of features to the island itself to make it a really unique destination in the industry. And it looks to be fantastic. The whole industry, the whole travel industry, as far as cruises goes, is really a buzz over this island and what they're doing. So I want my folks to be some of the first to experience it. And it should be wrapping up construction in May. And there's a cache on the island. I think it's an earth cache, and hopefully that'll still be accessible with all the construction that they're doing. But we're planning on getting that. That's awesome. There may be events and special things that we do there that have yet to be announced.
Oh wow, that's awesome! So cool.
So before we jump on, for somebody that's never been on a cruise before, and you talk about that price, for that's $1,300 or whatever it was for 2 people. What else should they expect to spend on a cruise? Like somebody that's never been before what else is included, or what do they need to plan for?
Well, the things that you need to plan for, it all depends on your own personal preferences. Alcoholic beverages are extra. Spa appointments like massages and things like that, that's all extra. There are gratuities that you have to pay, which with Royal Caribbean are $14 a day per person. So that's your tips that you're tipping your wait staff and your room steward and folks like that are helping you with the
But that's done ahead of time, right? Like you're not tipping them each person and stuff like that.
It can be paid ahead of time, but it's all taken care of behind the scenes. It's just a charge that gets added onto your account. You're not handing out dollar bills all day long. It's not something that's intrusive to your experience. It's a behind the scenes thing, but it's not it's an expense, and it does add up, and folks need to be aware of it. Excursions, the things you do on land, those are often not included. Now we've got all that built into our Cache the Waves package, so folks going with us don't have to worry about that. But if you wanted to do a guided tour or a snorkeling excursion or swim with the dolphins or something like that in Nassau, those are excursions and those are additional. But you don't have to pay to get off the ship.
So that price you're talking about includes excursions also?
That's right.
Oh wow, okay, that's pretty cool. We've been on a couple cruises, and of course, I always go with the craziest excursion you can find.
Right.
And those can add up. So
yes, that's true. But ours is a custom caching tour, air conditioned bus, and going from cache to cache. That's awesome. And so that's what we're doing, and that's all included in the price.
I like that.
And before we talk more about that, let's take a moment and have a word from our sponsors. And for the people that are live, they're like, okay. But audio people understand what just happened, and that's all we need to do. So,
There you go.
okay, so as far as my dad got to go to NASA. This is
Mhm.
decades ago, but he thought that was really cool. What are some things about the Bahamas? Why is the Bahamas sort of a destination? Do you think, in a general sense?
It's a destination that offers a lot. You've got beautiful beaches with crystal clear turquoise water. You've got history. Um,
Mhm.
Forever. Nassau, it was a pirate haven. It's there are forts there. It was occupied by different forces during history. It's got there's so much to see and do in Nassau. That's from a historical
Pirates.
perspective. Pirates, yes.
You could do a pirate theme. Why don't
Oh,
you make
that's
it
right. That's a
make
great
it?
idea.
I tell you what, make it pirate themed. That's what I want you to make it pirate themed, John.
Somebody's already doing that though.
Oh, I don't care. Somebody else is doing something like that. No, are y'all really you're gonna use that as a theme? You think?
We are.
Okay.
We're all of our all the puzzles and things that we have created, at least for the last cruise, we're all tied together with a kind of a story
Yeah.
or a theme. The Alaska cruise was based on the gold rush and the history of the Yukon,
Cool.
and all the puzzles kind of tied into that in a loose way.
Right.
This one is all going to be tied together loosely by pirates, and so we're
Very
looking
cool.
at new ways to do that.
That's neat.
There's a pirate museum in Nassau. Um,
Oh wow.
so a lot of fun things to see and do in Nassau. Oh, there's also a great resort that you can go take a day pass to. You can go see. It's the Atlantis Resort.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I've
Um,
seen photos of that place.
it's
Yeah.
incredible to see. It looks like something that should be in Las Vegas, but it's on an island, just this giant structure,
Hmm.
Right.
just sticking up out of the ocean, and it's got a water park, it's got an aquarium. There's all kinds of things that you can do, and it's got a huge casino if you're into that. So a lot of fun stuff to see and do there.
So the cool thing about that is you're like getting everything. I mean, you're kind of like being able to experience everything because
Hmm.
you can get to do that but then you get to do everything else too. It's like you're getting everything. It's like,
Right. You're getting a lot of value in it because you only have to unpack one time. You go to the ship, you get to your room, you unpack your stuff, and you hop from island to island during the cruise. You only have to unpack that one time, and everything's provided for you. All your meals, you don't have to worry. There's entertainment, there's
right.
activities going on. Not only us and our stuff, but the entirety of the cruise is there to entertain you. There are nightclubs for stuff, for doing things in the nighttime. There's karaoke. There's all the activities they have on the deck, the pool, the water slides, all that stuff is included. So,
That's incredible.
mhm.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like you were saying, it's cool on its own. And then you add in because one thing I think people don't realize is that you spend a lot of extra time and go through a lot to make sure that you get people. You don't just say, "Yeah, there's probably a geocache out there somewhere.
Mhm.
Right.
Go look for it." And you got the GC codes. You give them a GPX file if they want it.
Mhm.
I mean, that really is above and beyond. You've gone through the whole process of getting all of it. I mean,
Mhm.
for a geocacher, and I think that's something that is really cool that you go through for people.
And this is something that we do not only for cruisers, but for
Mhm.
folks looking to have other types of vacations as well. A good example is a trip that we've planned recently for a geocacher that's local to us, where she's going to do a road trip across Alaska, circling back to Alaska.
Which is
Um,
crazy. A road trip in
right.
Alaska.
So she's flying into one of the southern Alaska towns. I'm forgetting the specific itinerary, but she's going to rent a car and drive it
Sure.
up north, and all along the way she's going to do trips to Denali National Park. She's going to do whale watching excursions. She's going to get in a plane and fly up to Point Barrow, the very
Oh
northernmost
wow.
part
Yeah,
of
very
the
Oh my
Arctic
top.
gosh.
Circle, and see that and enjoy that. And then she's going to fly back down, get back in her car, drive all the way back down, take a different route that I helped her plan to see some different areas of Alaska, where she's going to pick up her her plane back again and fly on home. But it's a 2-week trip, and
Wow.
we're going to give her the GPX files for every destination. And while she's traveling, I'm going to be available to help her if she needs to. She can contact me if there's any kind of hiccups along the way. That's one of the things that a travel agent does for somebody that you can't get through Expedia or something like that, is that we're here kind of as a home base, helping you as you're going. If you have any kind of issues on your way, contact me. I'll smooth things out from my systems over here and make things as nice for you as it can be while you're traveling.
That's good to have a lifeline.
Right.
That is awesome. So the Bahamas trip is the 24th through the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Leaves from, did we say where's it leaving
It
from?
leaves out of Port Canaveral, which is east of Orlando.
Okay. So you could even combine, if people want to combine a little Orlando time, they could do that
Yep.
themselves and kind of plan that as well. People can, let's say we've got people that are listening or watching, and they're in. They're sign me up. So we need to cover what you want them to do.
Okay.
Obviously tell them that they heard about it here, right?
Right. Let me know. Please let me know that you heard about it on the podcast. There are benefits to you for telling me that. There is a package cost associated with the Cache the Waves cruise that if you mention that you hear it on the podcast, I reduce that cost by 50%. So that's a significant savings to you.
Oh yeah.
And that's something I'm happy to do. So what you need to do if you are interested in what we've got going on, cachethewaves.com is the website. It has all the details and the itinerary and all the information about the ship itself, the different ports of call. It's got videos showing you what you can expect with the new construction on the island, all the activities on the ship. There's a link there that you fill out a little form and tell me who you are and what you're looking for, and then I'll contact you and we'll get the ball rolling on that.
Sweet. I'm putting that in the notes right now. Cachethewaves.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Now, yeah, definitely mention where you heard it. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. I get it out tonight. I'm still recovering from Mega, but you understand. Cachethewaves.com. So if they have questions, like they're mostly sold, but they have questions, what is the best way for them to ask you questions about it?
The easiest thing to do, the most that I'd get to the quickest, is going to be through email. My email is info at amstravel.sales.com, and that's going to be the quickest way to get to me.
Perfect. Okay, that's awesome. Oh, that's incredible. So, anything else you want to cover about that trip before I want to ask you a couple of questions about some other things too. But is there anything else about the Bahamas trip that you want to price again?
The least expensive option to get on board the ship there are two types of rooms on the ship. There's three really. There are inside rooms which don't have any kind of windows or view of the outside. There are ocean view rooms that have a view. It's just a window that doesn't open, that you can see the water or the port when you're there. And then the higher level rooms are balconies. This is a room that's got a sliding glass door where you walk out and you have a little veranda with a couple chairs and a little table. You can sit out and enjoy a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. You pay a little bit more for that. Sure. I've got one balcony left. And the price on that with the geocaching package for two people is $1,805. Okay. And then the inside room, which I also have, that's the less expensive way to go. That's $1,290.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
okay, cool. So if I know you're not going to always have some, I know you have the person come to you and ask for the crazy road trip to Alaska, which was awesome. But if somebody realizes and should realize the benefit of going through a travel company, and not just to me, you're more than an agency because you're doing so much more. than just booking something. You're not.
Right.
To me, you're not just booking. You're doing full service, in my opinion. So something I mentioned before the show was if somebody say wants to go to Iceland for some reason, which I think would be great. I think Iceland would be awesome. They could contact you and you could kind of get them pointed in the right direction or what, or
I could do that. I could send them to Iceland.
Okay.
That sort of trip is not beyond my scope. I just had a client of mine who is not a geocacher just spent a week in Costa del Sol in Spain and Paris. So she traveled and so Europe is well within my capabilities, as is Asia, Australia. I've sent folks to Australia before. There's really nowhere that I'm not able to work with.
Wow. Awesome. That's awesome. So Jesse, you want to some thoughts you have that you want to talk about? Or
other than of course, a future geocache talk cruise, which we'll talk about that later. But other than that,
that's what I want to
do you have any ideas, maybe not planned yet, but any places you're thinking about doing in the future that you can mention now, or any places you'd like to put something together for? I mean, not holding you to it, but just some ideas.
There are tons of places. Bermuda is one. The Bermuda Geo Tour is extremely popular.
Oh yeah.
That's something I've considered doing, to catch the waves too. Possibly thinking about doing Catch the Waves to Cuba, because that's been obviously a really big sell, a good sell.
Were you surprised a little bit that people? Well, I guess you were saying before the show that you weren't really surprised because it was a spot. It's one of those things where when you mentioned it to us, I was like, oh, I mean, I'm a history buff, so I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. When I mentioned it to Jesse, he's like, wow, this is awesome. And it's like, well, that wasn't my reaction at all, but
everybody has different things they want to travel to, right?
No, that's true. And so you probably got similar, where you got people who are like, interesting, and the other people are like, I want to go.
Right. And the fact that it's a little bit mysterious, because it's been closed off to us for so long, really is a draw. I wasn't expecting this big a group. I had to actually, I started out with a smaller bus for the tour, had to get a bigger bus. We passed that threshold. And so that's what's sold out. The ship itself isn't sold out. I can get you on the ship and you can enjoy it. It's the bus in Cuba that's sold out. So no, I wasn't expecting this big a turnout.
What about, it's not really a cruise, so to speak, but what about the Ape Cache? Have you ever put together a trip for that?
Brazil? I have not. There is another agent who does those. It does them well.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to try it. But she's got connections there that I don't have yet. And that's a destination right now that's it's going through some upheaval. So it's not one that I'd be looking at in the near future.
Well, and I think it's probably losing a little bit of its luster right now that there's another Ape Cache out there.
Right. And we had hoped to be able to get the one in Seattle when we went up there last year, but it ended up being a little bit more than we bargained for, just getting to the HQ, so we didn't have time to get out all the way out there to the tunnel. But
somebody mentioned Key Largo, Montego, Costa Rica, Bermuda, Jamaica. They were mentioning a lot of places in there.
We had tried to do Costa Rica last year. I didn't have a whole lot of interest in it. But if that's something people want to go, if folks have geocaching groups that want to get together and do a trip, it doesn't have to be a cruise. It could be a trip down to the Ape Cache. It could be a trip to Berkshire for the mega Aberdeenshire.
Oh yeah,
that kind of thing. In Scotland, I could do that.
Oh wow, that's true. That's very cool.
Very many possibilities.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we wrap up tonight, I guess Jesse, let me start with you, and then John, I want to get your final final thoughts here in a minute as we get sort of into a wrap up point. So I guess Jesse, anything else from? I guess I want to cut off yet. Is there anything else from the chat room? Did people have any other questions that you saw that you want to bring up before we kind of get
people
to
are
that?
mentioning many places.
Okay.
Korea,
We can talk about that a little bit
Mexico.
more.
There's all kinds of stuff in there. And I just think it's interesting, all the places and the places that excite some people. And obviously we could talk. I could fill a whole show with the dumb things I've done while I'm traveling. But this is the way. This is the way to do it, right? You're making sure that you're going to get everything. It's not. I'm spending all this money to get somewhere, and I may get what I'm trying to get, or the oldest in this place, or like people travel to, I think it's Switzerland, to get that fourth Jasmer.
Oh,
could you imagine
right.
traveling over there and be like, oh, you didn't know this area was closed during this time of the year? Oh, yeah, that was just a lifetime of money. That's great.
Right.
There's tons of things like that happen, and I could fill a show with that. But this is the way to do it. If you're able to travel and you're able to do these trips, having somebody that's professional like John working on this and making sure everything's safe, and then having that literal lifeline. Like we joke about a lifeline sometimes. Some of these trips you can have a literal lifeline. Like, yeah,
that's true. We need to call somebody if you if there's an issue. I know, like you said, if you have a really good travel company behind you, then you could call them and you can get stuff taken care of. But that's the thing I think that I've heard people mention before, and Jesse, you can comment on, but to do a cruise, one of the things I think that many people mention, and that is, I go somewhere, it's cool, it's like, now I just gotta, and I get back on the boat and they take me somewhere else. It's like it's almost like it's like Uber is a bad way to put it, but like a traveling chauffeur, like, take me to the next destination, so just kick back, relax, and kind of go, they're going to take me to the next spot.
Well, so somebody mentioned in the chat room too, exactly what you're saying earlier. I think it was Butterfly Girl, but I'm not 100% sure now, that they've gone to 40 countries because of cruises.
Wow.
Right.
That's helped them get to, how many people have gone to 40 countries? Well, this is not the audience to ask that for, but in general public, how many people have gone to 40 countries, right? So cruising's a great way to add in a bunch of travel, safely add in a bunch of travel like that.
Absolutely. There's nothing easier than getting on a ship, enjoying the amenities of the ship and the hospitality of the staff, which is always excellent. And just, you wake up in the morning after you've dance the night away, and you're in a whole new country. You can get off the ship, get a cache, get a country. Next day, the same thing, and it's fantastic.
That is amazing.
How many people in the general public get to say they've been to 40 countries?
Yeah, no.
That's not a normal thing. You're really living life, right?
That's a rare group that have been. It's a rare group. Surprisingly, it's a rare group, unfortunately, for Americans who don't get out of the country.
Who don't even get out of their own state sometimes.
There are folks that don't want to, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But travel has never been more accessible than it is right now to the masses, and you owe it to yourself to just go and take the trip and see the world. It really is eye-opening to go to a place like Jamaica or Mexico that was mentioned. You see how folks live there. It's so different than what we experience here, and how blessed we are in America. And it really opens your eyes, especially for kids. I know when I took my daughter down to one of the beaches resorts in Jamaica, she was 5 or 6, and it was just eye-opening to her, the way that some folks live, but they're happy, and they love life, and it's just the human spirit that is everywhere. That common denominator of joy, and it's not tied to material possessions, but Americans have a hard time seeing that and understanding that until they get somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah, that is true.
Very true.
So for most of the trips, for example, for the Nassau one, and for many people who go on cruises, you can help, obviously, with planning out. doing the geocaches. Some obviously are right there at the port. Others, I know people who we've talked about, and we've had people on the show before talk about how they, they pop in a car and they're going to go pick up a cache somewhere in that town or nearby.
Mhm.
So, as far as with the group, I know you've mentioned like when you did Alaska. If you want to go with the group, you can. If you don't have to. But you sort of, in a sense, not only plan out the whole cruise and everything about that, but you've got the whole excursion to a certain location, and you can go. We're going to go pick up this Earth cache. We're going to go get this cache, and so you can kind of go, oh wow! I mean, we're going to get a bunch of caches that we weren't really,
Yeah.
I think people miss that part sometimes. They don't think about.
One of the things that we made sure of when we went to Alaska, in Victoria, there's a webcam cache, and those are, as you know, getting rare.
Oh, yeah.
And so we made that a priority to go get. And but there was also nearby a Where I Go, and one of our folks really wanted to do the Where I Go.
Smart guy.
And I said, well, we got to go get to the webcam.
Oh,
And the two were maybe not too far apart, and far enough apart that we'd have to split the group and go do it.
right.
So we ended up splitting up, and he and his wife went and did the Where I Go, where the rest of us went to go do the
right.
webcam. But we were in a position where we could do that, and it all worked
Yeah.
out fine. We tried to have everything planned out as much as possible, but we also have the opportunity for being flexible. If there's something that somebody really wants to go get, like the oldest or something like that, we'll try and make that happen. And we coordinate with folks beforehand, what is it you want to get, and make sure we include it in the excursion.
Wow, that is awesome. I don't know why in the world somebody would want to go. No, I'm kidding. To a Where I Go. I'm kidding. Jesse will shoot me if I say
Wow.
that. I'm kidding. I love Where I Goes too. Not as much as Jesse, but I do love me a good Where I Go.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about that. Reverse Where I Goes, man. I love them. That's really cool. All right. So Jesse, what are some of your final thoughts tonight?
I'm really excited to see where this continues to grow. I mean, obviously, if like the Cuba one, I wish I would have gotten to go on that, right? 32 cachers signed up for that, and it filled up. That is awesome, right? If you go on a cruise just randomly, you might run into another cacher on the cruise. You might not. If you're going on this whole trip, I mean, you're gonna get all the stuff that you want. It's such a gamble when you're just traveling and it's not set up like this, right? So you're getting to go experience this brand new thing with a whole literal busload of cachers in a brand new country that you haven't been in before. I mean, that's just, that's like a ringer. It's almost like cheating. You get, you're going to get all your stuff. It's not even a gamble anymore. You just get to go and relax and enjoy your trip. You get your caches that you want. It's a huge trip. You get to do all this other stuff. Definitely the way to go about it. It's the smart way to use somebody that's a professional to make sure these trips, because for most of us, we have to save up for a while to do these trips. So we can't just do them every weekend. So I want to make sure I do it right when I do it. And I think it is smart to go through a professional and to get everything that's on your list. I've missed countries before that I've been in because of this. And since I've been caching, and there's just no excuse for that. That's just dumb.
Well, like you said, not only professional, but a geocacher. I mean, that's the combo that's the combo you were missing, because you missed something that you probably wouldn't
I missed the country. It happened. Let's move on.
It happens. Yeah, I'm with you. I did too. I'm
not getting that one back. So
we missed. Well, we could have gotten Scotland, but the planning wasn't done. If I'd have had John could have helped me with the planning.
Yeah,
I was trying to plan on the fly. And that didn't work. It didn't work out. So, but
the risks are too high when you're visiting another country or something like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we'd have had somebody help us, I think we'd have been better off. But,
absolutely.
All right. So, John, I'm going to give you sort of the final thoughts. Other than I got to mention upcoming shows and do the closing. But what are some of your final thoughts for tonight?
Well, I'm thrilled to be a part of Geocache Talk, and you guys are good guys. So I'm happy to support what you're doing and your patrons and your listeners, and help them get to where they want to go and get the caches they want to get. So
well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it has been wonderful. John's been wonderful to work with, and to give such so many different types of discounts for, go to the website, check out amstravelsales.com. Check out, he's got a link to us, and we have a link, as well. Obviously, if you want to get to him, if you forgot, if you're like AMS Travel Sales, but what's the website? Very simple. Go to geocachetalk.com and go to the bottom of the front page and click on AMS Travel Sales, and you're right there, and you can go from there. So, so John, again, thank you so much for tonight and being on and giving us the updates on Cuba, which sounds like Cuba might be another option for people in the future, or you can actually book them if you want. They can't go with the tour part because that part's booked. But and then of course Bahamas coming up. So and not many of those left either. So you got to get people got to hop on that pretty quick. So and again, thank you. So all right, well, quickly upcoming shows. I do want to mention next week David Reeves is going to be on. He's going to talk about his a lot of different things, but I'm fascinated, and I know Jesse's will find this fascinating to talk to him about his cache streak, which is still in the top 10, and he stopped his streak like a year ago. He's still in the top 10. So 3,000, we'll talk about it next week. You'll be excited to hear all that. So in 2 weeks, we're going to do a Project GC show with Super Nate. And so if you always wondered, or you're kind of like, Project GC, whatever those guys talk about, we're going to get into it a little more and really get you fired up about getting on Project GC. I was talking with Just B, one of our patrons, last night. I was telling him, I was ranting and raving about how wonderful Project GC was. I think I got him excited about it. So, and then in 3 weeks, Josh Boggs is going to be on and talk about their augmented reality cache run that they're doing.
Oh,
yes, augmented reality, and it's based on Smoking the Bandit, the movie. So they've got to do this cache run in a certain amount of time, kind of like Smoking the Bandit. You got to get that Coors beer. You got to go to Texarkana and get
that's right,
get back to Georgia. So anyway, so Josh Boggs is going to be on. He's going to tell us about bunch of stuff they are going to do on this trip, and it sounds like a lot of fun, and we're going to get to hear all the details about this and talk about AR a little bit. I know people are always excited to hear a little bit about augmented reality and what's going on, so we're going to talk about that some, and so very excited about that. So all right, well, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Email us your comments, or if you have any questions, you need some help on anything, email us geocachetalk@gmail.com. And if you want more, again, info at amstravelsales.com is the website, or the email to get in touch with John. amstravelsales.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Jesse's going to slap my hand and make me do more Instagram correctly.
That's right.
Facebook, of course, is our facebook.com/Geocache Talk. Of course, the show can be found on iTunes, Spotify, lots of different spots. And of course, website, geocachetalk.com. Go out to the website, check it out. We're always trying to add new stuff all the time. And don't forget to click on the subscribe button below. If you've never done that, please do that for us and subscribe. It really helps us out. And tell your friends. That's something that we really encourage and really hope people, I know people have done that, but we really want you, if you're an audio listener, same thing. Take a moment after the show, send a quick text or whatever you're currently doing, Facebook Messenger, I don't know, email, write a note, send a mail, I don't know if people mail, do people mail letters? I guess people mail letters.
Can you still do that?
I think you still can go buy stamps, but
wow.
tell your friends about the show and get them involved in, especially in the chat room, because chat room is always hopping, and we love our chat room folks. They're very helpful for each other as they talk to one another, and they ask good questions. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Love the chat room. So again, thank you. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Go plan your trip to Cache the Waves, Bahamas. You better do it really fast.
That's right.
Right.
Quick, so you can go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.